Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
At Sierra, discover joyous deals on great gifts for everyone on your list. Like cozy slippers, ski gear, fishing poles, bikes, large kayaks, even larger canoes. Whew, which might lead to another discovery. Wrapping gifts is the only sport you need to stay fit this season. 'Tis the season to discover great gifts at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Beaver Banter Podcast. I'm Nick Daschel and I cover Oregon State football for the Oregonian and OregonLive. All is well again in Beaver Nation. Oregon State is back. They won the Pac-12 championship. They beat Washington State 41-38. We're back to looking at bowl games, and fans are feeling good again. And so is my podcast co-host, former Oregon State defensive end Isaac Hodgins. Feeling good. You're feeling good this weekend, I imagine.
Yeah, Pac-12 champ sounds nice. I'm sure we haven't been able to say that in a long, long time. I don't know if.
Yeah, I mean, I say that tongue in cheek. It's not really a championship.
I'm claiming it. We're Pac-12 champs.
But whatever. I mean, they said earlier in the week they didn't want to be your buddy. So, I guess there was something on the line. What did you make all that anyway? I didn't have any problem with it at all. I mean, why would Washington State feel like they're your buddy? I mean.
Yeah, I didn't know there was buddy going around, to be honest. I've never liked Washington State. You know my record against them. I think we beat them one time out of the times we played.
Well, it was 9 out of 10 going into Saturday, so now it's 9 out of the last 11. So, yeah, the only year you got them was 22. Yeah, 22.
Never liked those guys anyway, so.
Who was it? I mean, outside of Oregon, obviously, who was the team you disliked the most that you played over your career?
I'd probably say Utah. In the Pac-12, I'd say it was probably Utah. It's kind of tied between Utah, Washington, and then Washington State, obviously. I would say Utah, though, because in 2019 they beat us real good, and that left a sour taste in my feeling.
Oh, yeah, that was like a 52-7 beatdown or something like that.
Yeah, it was a beatdown. It was bad at home.
But I mean, that I think weren't they the conference champ that year too, or close to?
Yeah, they were. So that made it feel a little bit better, but still.
But they were always tough on the lines, and so you probably. I would think you'd enjoy that way. I mean, unless, or do you not mind going up against guys you could whip and.
I mean, you enjoy it because it's a physical game, but like you do go into those games knowing like, hey, I'm going to feel like I got out of a car crash tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So
well, there's that.
Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't feel good the next day, but in the moment, you're like. Yeah. Let's knuckle up.
Now you weren't at the stadium yesterday, right? Did you watch on TV?
No, but it didn't look like it was too full, but it sounded like, it sounded like the 12th man was still there.
Yeah, technically it was a sellout. It was probably like the what was the last home game? San Jose State. That was a sellout too, but it was somewhere in that. Yeah. But yeah, it was the game wore on the second half, fourth quarter. The sound met the moment as the game was going on. So I was down the field for a lot of the fourth quarter, so I could kind of get a feel for how loud it was.
Yeah, it was Tolly there. I think I saw him hiding out on the sideline over there.
I was over on Washington State side, so I didn't really see get over that side, but they're off.
I think he snuck in there somehow.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were off this week, I think. So yeah, that makes sense. A lot of guys come home and went on the off weeks in the NFL and come watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Keaton Oladapo was there last week because Green Bay was, or not last. Green Bay had a week off. I know he was there somewhere. Whenever, and
yeah,
I know the right. Well, I remember Nahshon Wright used to come when the Cowboys had off.
Yeah, he'd come a lot.
When they had off week. So once a Beaver, always a Beaver, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Ride or die. Beaver Nation.
So I guess let's start with the offense because that, I felt like the defense got – people are going to go 38 points. But, man, it's a good thing the offense showed up. But I actually thought the defense played pretty well. But we'll get to them in a little bit. But offensively, I got to ask, the rotating quarterbacks. Jabari Johnson got 12 snaps. I mean, he made the most of them for sure. He got 47 yards, ran for a touchdown. But I know you're not a fan of that stuff.
I'm not a fan, especially when it's like, hey, you're trying to get the season back on the wagon, so to say. And you got a quarterback who's like really hot right now, and then you just kind of take him out. It was just kind of weird too in the 2-minute drill at the end of the game. You have 1minute 30 seconds left, and then you bring in a running quarterback. Everyone knows you're going to run the ball with him, and you run a speed option. Yeah, and he fumbles it on that play. Like that could have went really bad, really fast. I just don't understand. The logic in that scenario to take out your starting quarterback in a 2-minute drive.
I felt like
I just didn't understand.
I felt like this time they had a plan as opposed to the other times when, they would bring in like at Cal, they brought in Ben, and then they pulled him out and they were just trying to find something. And then last week when they alternated the series, I felt like they were just looking for somebody to get hot. But in this case, I felt like the reason they were doing that is because New Mexico just scorched Washington State with their running quarterback, and they wanted to pick spots where they thought they could exploit them.
And like to their credit, like the red zone, like I think that's a perfect scenario. That's a great place to do it, right? That's where a lot of teams do it. But like in the middle of a 2-minute drill with the game on the line, I mean, what did you think about that? I was just bewildered of the play call. First of all, you have no timeouts.
I don't know that I love that either, but that's kind of it. Wasn't so much a 2-minute drill because they were trying to get the clock down as close to zero as possible because they didn't want to give Washington State another shot. So it wasn't like they were in
But also you're at midfield. That I would understand it if you're like on the 25-yard line, but you're at the 50-yard line. You're not in field goal range. You don't have any money in the bank. You don't have any – you're not playing with house money at this point. You know what I mean? You're still trying to get into scoring position. Yeah. And then and then Washington State kind of saved us. They were calling timeouts for us. I did not understand. I don't know what Washington State was thinking, but
they were thinking Oregon State they were gonna stop them and make them kick
but they were burning timeouts on a first down with there was 30 seconds. Oh. There was 36 seconds left, and then we run the ball. And then the clock's running, and then Washington State calls a timeout. I'm like, what are they doing? I'm so confused at what's happening. Yeah. Like, save your timeout to either ice the kicker or I don't know what was going on.
Well, me and my dad were just cracking up. That whole series, I'm not going to say Oregon State was great on that series, but they were good enough to get their kicker in a position to kick a monster field goal.
One of the greatest kickers in Oregon State history, might I add.
Well, you can't argue. He's got the number 1 and number 4 field goals in terms of length. He has the longest in school history, and the 55-yarder is tied for 4th. And I looked it up. Of the top 4, that's the only one that was with money on the table. The rest of them were second quarter or tie. His kick at Colorado was actually, I think that tied the game or something, but it wasn't a game winner or anything like that. So,
and I was talking with my dad and my brother, and they're just like even more impressive, just like how hard that is for a college kicker because the hashes are so wide in college football. The NFL hashes, they're right down the middle, essentially. So, that kick was amazing. Like, for a college kicker to go out and bang a 50-plus yard field goal, to win the game. I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
To see.
It was. I mean, it was good by. He could have probably get it from 58. That was about. He cleared by, and it was about a yard or two inside the post. So it was. It was a solid kick, and
yeah. But I mean, back to the offense. I thought it was a solid game. I thought it was the best game plan they kind of went into, like strategy wise, going into a game. That was top games called I've seen offensively, but there were some questionable scenarios, like, the quick screen on the 5-yard line. I don't know about that one. There's just a few calls where I was like, I know they probably wish they had those ones back, but I thought it was a good game called all in all. And I thought everything basically went our way for the most part. We were running the ball well. And then it really helps to have a quarterback like Ben Gulbranson who could sit in the pocket on 3rd and long and deliver you a first down, or 4th and 6. I mean, come on. That's a gutsy call. I mean, that was a gutsy call. What do you think about that one? 4th and 6.
Well, yeah, I asked Trent, you mean on the yeah. I asked Trent, I said, did you, I mean, it felt like to me they were just going to go on 4th down pretty much every time yesterday. Not much to lose. They were 4 or 5 on 4th down, but that one was the longest one. And yeah, I mean, I felt like that's just a situation where, I mean, what do you got to lose?
Another game.
Well, sure, but I mean, you're also playing to win, and his reasoning was there was like minute 30 left, and the Cougars still had 2 timeouts, and if you punted, they were going to get the ball, maybe 10, 15-yard line. They had plenty of timeouts. He just felt like, we have our hands on the ball. We have a chance. The odds are better that we'll make this first down than we will stop them if we punt the ball to them. So, it was definitely a high risk situation, but I couldn't blame, I can't argue with him on that. I felt like it was not a bad call.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would have called that play, to be honest. 4th and 6, tied game. I might do a little. If anything, I'll bring the offense out, and then we'll do the little pooch kick, quarterback pooch kick, and get them pinned within the 15-yard line, and then try to play good defense. But I kind of understand it too. Like, this is a high-powered offense, and you play that risk either way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I always feel like if you got your hands on the ball, you got more control over the situation than if you're trying to defend a guy like Mateer who had already thrown for 250 and he'd run for 2 touchdowns, and I mean, he's pretty dynamic.
Yeah. And I think that's where Ben was able to he was able to redeem himself, because obviously he had those 2 picks, right? But I mean, he had some 4th down conversions that they wouldn't have been able to convert without Ben. Like, let's be real. Yeah. They're not converting those without Ben Gulbranson.
Well, this is one that's going to go. As far as Ben, yesterday, he threw for a career high 294, couple touchdowns. He converted a few first downs on 4th down with his. The quarterback sneak, looked good on that. I thought he was solid yesterday. The 2 picks, I'm kind of curious to hear what you think on those. On just, if you just watch it in real time, you think, well, both times look like the DB jumped the route and got the pick, but I mean, who's to say the receiver didn't run a bad route or, the wrong route? Right. I mean, I don't know. What did you think on those?
Yeah, I think the second one was kind of the second pick. That was the pick 6.
Yeah.
That was the one where it's like, whose fault kind of really was that? Was Ben expecting his wide receiver to continue to keep running, or was he? And then I believe it was the tight end. He either, I think it was like one of those option type routes. Like, if it's zone, they're going to try to sit or whatever it may be, or they're going to keep going to the sideline. And I think Ben expected him to keep going to the sideline, and he didn't. I think that's the problem you kind of have when you don't have that chemistry between your quarterback and your wide receivers, because they haven't been playing together all too long, because he hasn't been playing all too much. You kind of have that miscommunication. Yeah. So I think that was probably what happened on that second one. The first one, I think it was probably just a bad read by Ben where he didn't understand that he didn't see what covers they were in. I think both of the picks were in cover 2 where there was a flat player just sitting there waiting and Ben didn't really see him. But again, the second one, I think there was probably a miscommunication.
Well, I heard that Ryan Leaf on the broadcast kind of speculated that the receiver ran the wrong route or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it back to the San Jose State game where he threw 2 picks and they threw 2. I just feel like at this point in his career, it's hard to believe that he would throw 4 bad balls like that. So I'm thinking at least a couple of them were probably not on him, but he's the quarterback and he's got to own it. So doesn't do him any good to blame his receivers, but
yeah, I think it's one of those situations. It's lack of communication. You just don't know what each other are thinking. I mean, that kind of what it boiled down to. And that's what they were saying on the broadcast. And that's also what, I was talking with my dad and my brother after the game. That's what they were saying too.
Yeah.
So it seems to be the issue.
The question that's going to go into the offseason, obviously, is should Ben have been the starter all along from game 1? It's hard to know. I watched enough of camp to think that it was a coin flip. It didn't feel like, Giovanni McCoy was, demonstrably better than Ben Gulbranson or, it just felt like they wanted a guy that could move a little bit. And Ben, he's just not as mobile as McCoy, but I feel like Ben's just better in the passing game, and as this offense has evolved, it feels like they needed a guy like him to deliver. And I don't know. I mean,
it just seemed like maybe they were trying to go for a different feel at offense, but like this offense is built for pro style type of offense and like a pro style type of quarterback. And obviously it's nice to have that ability for him to run on those boots and those nakeds, right? But it's just everyone else around you and everyone else in the program has been drilled into like this pro style offense. It's like, why not go with a guy who you've won under before, like in years prior? And I think I was surprised to see game 1, to see him not out there, to hear from the guys that he was like third string. And, I don't want to share what everyone was saying. I didn't talk to too many people about it, but I was surprised myself to not see Ben out there personally. Game 1, I was super surprised.
I mean, this goes back
because it just seemed like the best fit for that time and in place, but that's just my opinion.
I mean, this goes back to last year too. I know there's a number of Beaver fans that think that Ben should have started over DJ, and I don't know. I didn't think DJ was as bad as some people make him out to be, but I don't know. I felt like I don't know. I felt like he's coming off a pretty good year, and I don't know. You were in the middle of all that more than I was, but I mean.
Yeah, I don't think for me it was as much of a question if it was Ben or DJ. I thought it was DJ all the way, just because he's a fairly good game manager.
Yeah.
Like he could deliver some of those passes that you need him to deliver on. Obviously it didn't turn out the best, but like for us, I feel like he did a fairly solid job. But, it's just hard to have a pro-style offense without the ability to convert on 3rd and 8. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's something that was the demonstrative difference of this game and every other game on this losing streak was the ability to convert on 3rd and long. Right. You know what I mean? Like that ability is what gave us the ability to win this game, is the ability to convert these 3rd and long, even 3rd and medium situations where you can't run it with Hank. So, I mean, I thought Ben, by and far, despite the 2 picks he threw, was the MVP of this game. I mean, him, and obviously he had some good weapons around him, but without Ben, that wins.
Earlier in the year, they were moving the ball on 1st and 2nd down, so they didn't have as many 3rd and longs as they had.
That's why we still have that quarterback question going into like game 3. We're still like, we haven't seen much from this quarterback, because they never got put in that situation where you had to convert on third and 8. You know,
I mean, I'm thinking, the Nevada game felt like a game that felt like a game that Ben might have won just had he been the quarterback in that situation. But I don't know. That's the Monday morning quarterbacking. So, running game was pretty solid yesterday. It was close to 200 yards. That felt like, and again, Washington State isn't great against the run, but they needed that balance. They got some good balance on that. What did you think of the running game? I mean, it didn't feel like it was special yesterday, but it was, what they needed, I guess.
Good old fashioned football right there. I think having Hank with the ability to just fall forward it's just like he's falling forward on every run. Like it's hard to stop that dude in his tracks. So I think having him at running back helped a lot. And then obviously, bringing in Jabari Johnson at the right times, I think also added a different flavor. And helped obviously in the red zone, with that speed option touchdown he had. I think picking and choosing your battles there is a good strategy to go with. So I thought the running game was good.
You know what else was good yesterday was the pass protection. I don't think I think Washington State had no sacks. I believe I want to say they had they had 2 quarterback hurries and no sacks. So Ben was playing from a pretty clean pocket the whole day. That was the first time in a while I've seen the offensive line. That was one of the best they've had all season, I think, in terms of keeping the quarterback.
And I think that showed ultimately on that 4th and 6, which helped them win that game, which is, I would say, is part of the reason they won that game. Is that 4th and 6. I mean, Ben had the clean pocket to go through all of his reads from 1 to 3, and he was able to wait for that mesh to cross into that little zone where he delivered a great ball. That's not possible without that pocket being clean. And I was surprised that Washington State didn't bring more pressure, but I think they knew with Ben, who's a little more of a seasoned guy, he could sit in there and kind of take his reads and pick apart, hey, throw into the blitz where the blitz is coming from. So I think Washington State kind of toned it back a bit.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask how much of the pass protection was Oregon State and how much of it was Washington State. I mean, the Cougars have had
I didn't see them bring a whole lot of pressure. I mean, they brought some pressure in certain situations, but it wasn't like how it was last week with Air Force and games prior where they were just bringing the house and they were bringing 6-7 guys where I don't care how good your O-line is, you can't block for that long.
Yeah. How about your guy JT on the 43-yarder?
Man, JT was ball, and then also he almost scored on that in the red zone where on the wide delay where he blocked for a little bit and then slipped out and boom, got him right there in the red zone. And I mean, JT, he really, I mean, they were praising him on the broadcast, and it was great to see just because, I mean, I know he's a hard worker. He grinds all off season and he's quieter, but he's a guy, man, that shows out on game day, and I think he's shown out these past few games, especially this past game.
I thought I saw him in camp 2 years ago when he first came from Cal, and I thought we'd see more of him downfield, like in the one he got in that 1-on-1 situation for the touchdown. I thought we were going to see more of that over the course of his career, but really haven't. But it's too bad because I think he'd be pretty because he's got speed and size, and he showed some hands on that. I mean, he it was a 50-50 ball, and he won that one and ran through the.
And I think, to your point, that's the other case of what I saw that was different this game is we were winning those contested balls. Like we talked about these 50-50 balls, like we were going and we were winning these one-on-one matchups, and it was almost like everyone just kind of cut loose this past game. It was just like, hey, like you kind of said, we got nothing to lose. Let's leave it all out there. And and just go play football and have fun. And it just seemed like guys went out on senior day and they just had fun. And JT, back to JT, I think he's a talented player, and I think he'll have a shot at the next level for sure. Getting into someone's camp or whatever it may be, I think he's got a shot. He passes the eye test. He's a heck of an athlete, and I can't say enough good things about him.
No, he's a good player. Defensively, Washington State had 384 yards, which doesn't sound great, except Washington State came into the game as the top 10 offense in the country. They were 9 in scoring and 9 in total offense. Oregon State held the Cougars to, I think it was 80 under their average. Mateer was pretty good yesterday, but I don't know, they didn't run the ball all that much. And Williams, he got loose on the one touchdown run, but he didn't have a huge game outside of that one big play. So I felt like it was a nice little, I don't know, B+ B type performance for the defense yesterday.
Yeah, and I texted you after that first drive of just like, man, there's something in the air tonight. It just looks different. The defensive line was coming off the ball. People were zipping and zapping. I also saw, pre-play, they're doing their movements and shifting up front. We call it stemming. So the defensive line would start in one position, then shift over to another position before the ball snapped. And it just looked like they kind of brought back some old flavors that we used to see last year and the years prior of just the way we used to play defense. And I thought they executed fairly well. I think there were some times where guys got out of their gaps, and there's still some undisciplined defense, like lack of wrapping up on tackles and getting guys on the ground. But other than that, I think they did what they had to do and trying to stop this high-powered offense, because it is a high-powered offense, like you were saying. I mean, these guys were top of the pack.
Yeah, no, it's one of the. I mean, if you just look at the offenses Oregon State's faced this year, that you would consider pretty, maybe not elite, but really good. Washington State would be there. Oregon's there. I mean, they've seen some other good offenses, but I think Washington State and Oregon are probably the two best they faced. Just blanking on some of the other ones. What do you think of what makes Mateer so dangerous?
I think it's his ability to use his legs when he has to, but also like he's looking to what makes a quarterback dangerous is the guys who can run, but they're looking to throw. Like they're looking to throw, but then you also know like he could take off and run for 40 yards if he wants to. So you got to respect it. Like you got to quarterback spy him still, but also you don't want to take a person out of coverage because they got athletes out on the edges. Yeah. So I think that's what makes him the most dangerous, honestly, and he's a good decision maker.
He did run a number of quarterback draws though, and planned runs. You could see that, and I mean, he's pretty dynamic, and
and I think that's what makes it tough on a defense is like, hey, this guy can run at any point, but also he's going to run all the way to the point of the line of scrimmage and then just dump the ball off on an accurate pass. So that's what makes him dangerous. But I thought Oregon State defensively was fairly sound and kind of bottling him up and not allowing them to kind of dictate. We kind of forced them to have to like, hey, use your wideouts, use your wide receivers. And at that point, I think we're able to contain it a bit. Obviously, we got gashed quite a few times, but like you said, this is a high-powered offense, so it's a tall task to ask this defense, especially after the past few weeks.
Anything else from Saturday's game that sticks out to you at all, or before we move on to?
No, I think just all around the biggest thing that just stuck out to me was, I mean, those big time, 4 for 5 on 4th downs, like that's huge. And then just keeping these drives going, because what was the problem the prior games is it's 3 and out. Like there is no conversion on 3rd down. There is no, there's no completion of 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards. So I think the converting on the money downs, the 3rd and 4th downs, and then winning those one-on-one situations where you're winning those contested passes. Those were the biggest standouts to me of like, okay, we came to play today.
Yeah. Well, the last game provided, depending on whether they win or lose, is obviously is Friday, Boise State. Did you play many games on a short week?
I think we played a few. Yeah, probably a handful. Probably no more than 5. Though.
A short week for Oregon State. Really, I mean, when I say short week for people, it's Oregon State's playing Friday at 9 a.m. Our time, 10 o'clock Boise time. But really, all it is you guys generally got Mondays off. Well, you don't get Mondays off on a short week, so that's pretty much the difference, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's the main difference. And then also Sunday kind of has to become your day off, but it's really not a day off.
Yeah.
So depending on how they wanted to do it, they could have gave them all Sunday off, but I doubt they did that. Probably was something light. But at this point of the season, you're not really needing a day off just because of, NCAA. I think you have to have a day off.
You could technically say that's Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's what they do, right? But physically at this point of the season, you're not really practicing all too, I don't want to say you're not practicing hard, but it's not a fall camp practice.
Yeah.
Your body's not completely deteriorated after practice. So if anything at this point, it's kind of mental. You're locking in on the film room, and I think that's where you lose the most on a short week is you don't have as much time to prepare in the film room. But you got to take advantage of it, and you've got to be watching film after the game Saturday. Like, hey, let's go watch some film. Let's go clear some tape and get this. Like, this game that's the hardest part about a win like this is this game's got to be over Sunday morning. Like, you can't be thinking about it and, hey, such a great win, da 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 da. You can't celebrate too long. Let the celebration go to the fans. We're on to the next game. We're on to Boise State. This is a big game for us because if we win this game, we go to a bowl game.
It's a 12-hour rule instead of a 24-hour rule.
Yeah, it's got to kind of go out the window. It's more like a 4-hour rule. Once the clock strikes midnight, like we're on to the next game.
I mean, the other dynamic with this week is Thanksgiving. What's that like? I mean, what's that? Because Thursday, if you're playing Friday, like last year, you guys had a Friday game, so you had Thanksgiving on Thursday. I think you probably had a few. I think you had a few Friday games during your career on post Thanksgiving. So
yep.
I mean, is that? I'm not that Thanksgiving's getting in the way, but I mean, is it a tricky situation where you want to celebrate but you can't really celebrate? And
yeah, I would say it's more for me. It was more kind of refreshing to kind of see your family midweek. Have a nice meal, and there is a bit of a celebration because, like in my family on Thanksgiving, what do? You eat some turkey, then you go play football at the park with all your family. And that's just what you're doing, just kind of in reverse. You go play football at Reeser with all your family, and then you go have some Thanksgiving dinner with, your actual family who came in town, hopefully for Thanksgiving.
So was your family here a lot for
my
Thanksgiving?
Parents always came up.
Was your family here a lot on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, every Thanksgiving, my family would come up. My grandparents would come up. My parents. We'd have some of our teammates over. My parents would get like an Airbnb and they would cook Thanksgiving dinner, and it was a good time. And then there's also, I know we do celebrate as a team. Like we invite everyone's families in and have like a Thanksgiving type of lunch after practice. So there is a bit of a celebration component, and it's kind of refreshing, and it's just one of those things where you get this chance to play this game that you love on Thanksgiving. I mean, it's awesome. So yeah. I always thought it was kind of normal.
Yeah, there is the one danger though is you being a lineman, and linemen love to eat, and Thanksgiving is a great time to overeat, and then you got to play
exactly.
The next day.
And at this point of the season, you're kind of losing a lot of weight because you're playing so much. You're not in the weight room as much. You got a lot going on. So this is a time to kind of get a few Thanksgiving plates in, have some of grandma's sweet potato mash and candied yams and,
You ever see anybody maybe eat a little bit too much on Thanksgiving, like the day before a game, and go, oh geez, I overdid it?
No, that doesn't happen to us. There is no eating too much. If anything, it's eating too little.
Even on the day before a game, man. This turkey is notorious.
Eat all the carbs, man. You got to load up.
Turkey's notorious for putting you to sleep, and that seems.
You said well.
Turkey's has got tryptophan, and it kind of puts you to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, who really eats a lot of turkey on Thanksgiving anyways? You're really there for the biscuits and the stuffing and the candied yams, the mashed potatoes. Yeah. You have a little bit of turkey for,
So now that you're not in football anymore, what do you do this week? Is it a traditional Thanksgiving for you?
Probably go to sleep a little early, and hopefully pray I could have a dream that I'm playing football in Reeser and, out there at practice with my friends. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, just watching football, it's just kind of reversed now. Now I get to watch other people and be entertained on Thanksgiving rather than be the entertainment.
Well, it's been a while since you've been able to get up on a Thanksgiving morning and watch football and sit around and eat. And watch more football.
I tell you, it's still weird. Yeah, it's still weird on Saturdays not to wake up early and start getting ready for a game. I just wake up early and start watching games.
But you don't feel bad on Sundays, though.
Yeah, I feel great right now.
So the big story, obviously, for Saturday, well, there's two. One will be, Ashton Jeanty is, everybody knows who this guy is. He's on a very, very short list of Heisman Trophy contenders. He's run for over 2,000 yards. How much have you seen of him this year?
I mean, a lot. I don't know if you remember I think it was like podcast number 4 or something. We started talking about this guy, and, you were kind of like, that game's so far off. Who knows what we'll look like, yada, yada. And you were right. But, it's still Ashton Jeanty's he's aged like wine. He's gotten better throughout the season, and he's going to be trying to, hey, this is his last kind of mark to tell the world why he should be the Heisman. So he's got a lot of motivation going into this game. We've got to definitely come up with some sort of good game plan to bottle this guy up to, be kind of the storybook of like, how did they stop Ashton Jeanty? Kind of like how we stopped Caleb Williams and all these other great quarterbacks that we played. We got to find a way to bottle them up.
When you faced a really good running back, and I don't know if you faced a guy even at this level of running back, but
I would probably say the best was maybe like a Zach Moss or J.K. Dobbins, or like I don't know, I'm blanking on who else. There's a few good guys, but not to the level of where Ashton Jeanty is right now. I was
going to say, is this a week where, even though it's late in the year and you don't want to do too much physical stuff, are you working more on tackling form? And, because he's a guy that he's notorious for breaking tackles and turning 2-yard gains into 20.
Yeah, I think part of the game plan going into this week of practice there should be a lot of pursuit drills. So getting pursuit drills, for anyone who doesn't know, is when as a defense you're all on the field and there's a drill where, hey, there's a person over there, and every person on the field has to run over to this person in an orderly fashion, and no hats, no people stacking each other. Everyone's there in an orderly fashion and getting there fast. So we got to work on our pursuit, and then we got to work on our tackling. And the great thing about today's day and age is there's so many different devices you can work on you could work on tackling without actually tackling any person. It's not the 1900s where you got to do Oklahoma drill every day. Like we've got, these big rubber tire looking things that are not made of rubber. They're made of foam that you could tackle. They even have tackling machines that you could chase that they got robot controlled. There's a lot of different ways you can work on tackling without physically beating yourself up.
Now, one issue with Jeanty is that he came out of the game Saturday against Wyoming with a lower leg injury. Not exactly sure what it is. It could be an ankle, high ankle, something like that. He returned to the game and played the last couple series, but my history on this stuff is that, ankles feel okay the day you hurt them, and the next day it's not as good. And I don't know, I have no idea what if he'll be 100% Friday or not. But I mean, you know how ankle injuries are. They always they never feel good the day after and the days after that, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, and ankle injuries are one of those things where it's like, man, I can still go, but you kind of can't. But I would be hard pressed to think that he doesn't go this game personally, especially if he finished out the game. If it was a really bad ankle injury, you can't really finish.
Oh, I 100% think he's going. It's just a matter, but yeah. how effective is he? If his ankle's not feeling good, that's the thing. I mean, you've seen. I mean, you've probably tried to play with certain injuries over your career that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a difference between being hurt and being injured. That's what my dad always said. Yeah. So, he's probably more hurt than anything. And mid-season healthy at this point. Everyone's banged up and they got an elbow that hurts, an ankle that hurts, turf toe, shin splints. I don't know. You name it, they probably got it. So
another issue with Boise will be, there's a lot of pressure on them with their ambitions. I mean, they need to win to stay in the CFP. And when you get toward the end of a season – and there's a lot on the line. I mean, you guys know you played in a few of those games toward the end of the season where, I mean, like Washington last year. I mean, those games get kind of tight because people know what's on the line, and there's a lot of. I mean, what's it like to play in a high pressure situation?
I think it's just kind of like any other game, honestly, where you kind of you have this build up to the moment, but then once that whistle blows and you get that first pop of the pads in, it's kind of like, hey, we're playing football. Yeah. It's as simple as that. I think the problem mainly for our Oregon State team this week is going to be how do you handle playing on the road? Because we're playing at home. It's a different story, right? It's kind of like this week. No one expected us to come out and win this game, but when you play at home and it's senior day and you got the crowd going, you're comfortable, you're playing where you practiced a day ago, it's a different story than traveling on the road. So I think handling this high pressure situation on the road is going to be a challenge for this young team, but I gotta hope that they get prepped for it coming up this week and can produce.
It's a 10:00 kickoff in Boise. Did you ever kick off a game that early?
It's gonna be cold.
Did you ever kick off a game at that early, 10 a.m.?
10 a.m. Yeah. I think we had a game at 9:30, I believe. It's just one of those games where that kind of helps with the high pressure situation of like you have no time to think about this game rather than you got Pac-12 after dark where you're playing at 8 at night. You got all day in the hotel to sit there, think about it. It's kind of like what we like to say, I don't want to say the full phrase, but it's kind of wake up, brush your teeth and go play some football.
Yeah.
And there's no time to think about, these guys are going to be up most likely. If you got a 10 a.m. kickoff, you're going to be up at 6 o'clock having pregame meal by 7, and you're out. You're at the stadium by 8.
You think they'll be up that? I'm thinking they'll be even earlier than that. I mean, you want to be at the
it might be like a 5:30 wake up call.
I mean, because you want to be at the. I mean, you want to be at the stadium by what? 2 hours before kickoff.
2 hours is usually
so you want to be there by 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like 5:30 is probably but
probably 5:30, 5:45 wake up call. I never really paid attention to wake up calls. I was always up pretty early. I was up at like 5. I like to wake up before people, so I was a little weird.
Yeah, well, I mean the other factor will be that with a 10 a.m. kickoff, the fans won't have good chance to get all liquored up before the game. So
they're not as rowdy.
No, so it might be kind of a tame crowd. Although I don't know if there's.
I don't know. Boise, man, they got some country folk out there.
You never played it.
I've seen some people I've seen some people tailgate pretty early in the morning. You'd be surprised.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the last time Oregon State played at Boise. They've lost the last 3 at Boise. I'm trying to remember when the last game was. It was. I don't think they played there in quite a while though, and certainly you never played on a blue field.
Definitely not. Yeah.
I don't know.
I've never played on a blue field. That is correct.
Yeah, so
I played on a black field.
Have you?
That's the only.
Yeah, there's a black field at West Salem High School. They have a black field.
Yeah, that's when I played in high school with Zach Clayton Valley High School. Played on all black turf. It was awesome. Does it take any get? It was nighttime, so that was good.
Does it take any getting used to, or is it just a field?
Yeah, it's just a field. If it was during the day, it'd be different. You know, all the heat. You know, a turf field is already 15 to 20 degrees hotter because of the turf. Yeah. So at an all black field, it's even worse.
I think I looked at the weather for this week. I don't think it's supposed to be awfully cold. I think it'll be nippy, but I don't think it's gonna be bad. So it should be a decent day for a football game. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's podcast. We'll be back for the last one of the season. Talk about Boise State, and we'll see. Well, maybe we won't. Maybe it won't be the last one. Who knows? It could be a bowl game in there. You can't write that off yet.
Am I hearing the El Paso Bowl again?
No, it won't be. No, it's going to be something you've never heard. It's a bowl you've never been to before. Could be the in Shreveport. The what's the one in Shreveport? The used to be the Weed Eater Bowl, but I can't remember what it's called now. That's
Shreveport. Where's that?
Louisiana.
Yeah. Oh,
Independence Bowl. That's the Independence Bowl. There's a Gasparilla Bowl. That's in Tampa.
I swear, why is it that all the bowl games that are kind of like the low end bowl games are in the nicest places? Like you got the Hula Bowl in Hawaii. Like there were some years I was like, man, I hope we get a bad bowl game so we go to the Bahamas. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I want to say Fort Worth is another one. So yeah, they're all kind of in the South. Yeah, you got Vegas. Vegas Bowl was pretty good.
Yeah, Vegas Bowl.
And the LA Bowl. I don't know. Did you like the LA Bowl?
No, that was a bad bowl. Is that still around?
Oh yeah.
It's the Holiday Bowl now, right?
No, it's the LA Bowl. It's SoFi.
But it's not the Jimmy Kimmel one anymore.
It's somebody.
I
think it might be Rob Gronkowski's LA Bowl now or something. But
yeah, we could talk about that another day. That bowl experience, but that was not a good experience.
You didn't like just because, and it wasn't because you lost the game. It was more than that.
Yeah, it was more than that. It was just the bowl.
Well, then we need a bowl game so we can get you to talk about it, because I know the Vegas Bowl was I know you guys like the Vegas Bowl. I saw too many guys at the craps tables.
Yeah, after the Vegas Bowl, everyone was kind of like, I hope we go again.
Yeah, Sun Bowl. I've been there plenty. I've been to the Sun Bowl 4 or 5 times. So
it's one of those.
Yeah, I don't know if you like that one. That one was that wasn't a good.
I wasn't able to go to that one because I was getting surgery still. But I wish I could have.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. I forgot. Yeah, you didn't play in that. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see everybody next week.
Go Beavs.